Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us in the study of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Today we will be covering Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, Liberation from the Illusory Energy. And we did the first part where two questions were covered. Now the next two questions and the next half of the chapter is what we will be covering today. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Krishna Krishna Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Janantu Kori Vaishnavindi ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Oh. Please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. We'll do it together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nārayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirye. Shrutam swakatha Krishna punya shamana kirtanaha. Hridayantastohya bhadrani vidunoti suhasatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavate uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of Shrimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 3, verse 34. Shri Raju Vacha Nārāyaṇa Vidhanasya Brahmana Paramatmana Nishtham Arhatha no Vaktum Yuyam hi Brahmavittamaha. Please.
Shri Rajo Vacha Nārāyaṇa Vidhanasya Brahmana Paramatmana Nishthāmartha no Vaktum Yuyam hi Brahmavittamaha.
Shri Raja Uvacha.
Shri Rajo Vacha.
The king Nimi said.
The king said.
Nārāyaṇa Abhidhanasya. Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead named Nārayaṇ.
Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead named Nārayaṇ.
Brahmana. Of the Absolute Truth.
Of the Absolute Truth.
Parama
Atmana.
Of the Super Soul.
Of the Super Soul.
Nishtham. The transcendental situation. Arhat. You may kindly. Naha. To us. Vaktum. Speak. Yuyam. All of you. He. Indeed. Brahmavittamaha. The most expert knowers of the Supreme. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. King Nimi inquired, "Please explain to me the transcendental situation of the Supreme Lord Nārāyaṇa, who is Himself the Absolute Truth and the Super Soul of everyone. You can explain this to me because you are all most expert in transcendental knowledge." Purport. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, in the previous verse, the sages informed the king, Nārāyaṇa paro mayam anjastarati dustaram. Simply by unalloyed devotion to Lord Nārayaṇa, one can very easily cross over the ocean of material illusion. Therefore, in this verse, the king is requesting specific information about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nārayaṇa. It is significant in this verse that the king refers to the Supreme Lord as Nārayaṇa, Brahman and Paramatma. Although King Nimi is already understood to be a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the highest. By his question, he wants to clarify that the Personality of Godhead is the highest transcendental truth. In the Bhagavatam 1-11, Vadanti ta tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagvaniti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. Therefore it is to be understood that the word Narayan in this verse refers to the Bhagwan feature of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world. Generally, the speculative philosophers become attracted to the impersonal Brahman feature of the absolute truth, whereas the mystic yogis meditate upon the Paramatma, the super soul within everyone's heart. On the other hand, those who have achieved mature transcendental knowledge surrender directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagwan, who is eternally situated in his own abode called Vaikuntha Dham. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna clearly says, Brahmano hi paristhaham. I am the source of the impersonal Brahman. Similarly, it is described in Shrimad Bhagavatam that the super soul, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, is a secondary plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. King Nimi wants the sages to make clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original feature of the Absolute Truth, and therefore he places his question before the next of the 9 Yogendras, Pippalayana. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the word Nishtha can also be translated as firm faith. In this sense, Nimi Maharaj is inquiring about the process of developing perfect faith in the Supreme Lord, Bhagwan Nishtha. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yad kripatadham vande Shri Gurum dinataranam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna. So today, King Nimi in this particular chapter will be covering the 2 questions that he asked. So we covered the earlier 2 questions that in the previous class that King Nimi had asked. So now the question number 3 that appears in this chapter is, what is the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Lord Nārayaṇa? So this has been also referred as, he is inquiring about that Bhagwan is, he wants to reestablish his belief that the personal form of Shyam Sundar, Bhagwan, is the supreme, position, the transcendental position. And then second is, he wants to know the process of karma. So these are the 2 questions, question 3 and 4 in this chapter. And of the 9 questions, these are 5th and 6th questions that King Nimi is asking. And who is he asking? He's asking the 9 Yogendras, also referred to as Nav Yogendras. Now also means 9 and also means, young or, youthful. So these were, so I will quickly cover the background of this pastime. What had happened? Devarshi Narad, he was coming back to Dwarka again and again because he wanted to be very close to Lord Shri Krishna. So again, devotee, they want to always be serving Lord Krishna and always seeking his lotus feet. So Devashi Narad was returning back to Dwarka. So when he was at Dwarka, at this time, the curse on the Yadu dynasty had already been, invoked. So it had already been spoken. So Vasudev, father of Lord Vasudeva Krishna, he had heard about this curse. And all this pastime is being spoken by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj at the bank of the Ganges, where great sages were gathered. So in this assembly of sages, Devashi Narad is also there, Vishwamitra, Vashishta, Atri, and so many, Kashyapa Muni and so many other great sages were present. And later on in this assembly, there was one personality, Sutta Goswami, who was present. So when he goes later on to Naimisharanya, there the sages who are performing fire sacrifices to ward off the effect of this Kali age, they saw him coming and said, oh wow, this is good time. Now we get to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So let's inquire from Sutta Goswami. And Sutta Goswami narrates the whole Shrimad Bhagavatam that he had from Shukdev Goswami. So that was in the first canto, elaborately explained. So as Shukdev Goswami is narrating to Parikshit Maharaj, he is narrating this pastime that after the Yadus, they were, the curse had already been, said, and the curse upon the Yadu dynasty having been said, so it was known. So this is where, Devashi Narad, he approaches the palace of Vasudeva, and Vasudeva worships him. And we covered earlier when the curse was said, where Sambha was in the garb of a woman, and they wanted to know whether saying that this woman is pregnant and she is expecting a son, so please tell her if he will bear a son or a daughter. So the sages cursed them, saying that, the club would be the result which will cause the destruction of the whole dynasty. So here in the second picture, they took this club. Immediately they discovered the club under the cloth, and they took it to King Ugrasen in the assembly of Yadavas, and they revealed this. So King Ugrasen, he didn't consult with Lord Krishna, and he immediately asked that the club be churned into powder and be thrown in the ocean. And there was a small piece at the end of, converting into powder. So that was thrown as well, which was engulfed by a fish. And this fish was later on caught by the fisherman, and Jara, the hunter, receives this. So Jara in the previous birth was Bali. In Ramayana, Lord Ramchandra was hiding behind the tree when he kills the elder brother of Sugriv. So Bali appears as Jara. So that particular cycle has also, it appears that is going to be finished. And Jara does attain the spiritual abode after that, after this pastime. So here, the curse has been spoken. And now, when Devashi Narad comes to Vasudeva's palace, he worships him, right? Any Brahmanas, and especially as Brahmana sannyasi comes, we should worship him with awe and reverence, just like we would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they are representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here Devashi Narad is revealing the pastime where the Nav-Yogendras, the 9 Yogendras, are visiting during this fire sacrifice that was performed by King Nimi, the king of Videha. And at that time the earth planet was known as Ajanab. And Nav-Yogendras, these 9 Yogendras, their history has been given as well. Swayambhuva Manu, he had a son by the name Priyavrata. And Priyavrata had a son by the name Agnidhra. Agnidhra had a son by the name Nabhi. And Nabhi had a son by the name Rishabdev. Rishabdev is an incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. And he had 100 sons. The eldest one was Bharat Maharaj. So after 3 lifetimes, Bharat Maharaj was able to go back home, back to Godhead. And because of Bharat Maharaj, At that time, because he was the emperor of the world, the whole earth was known as Bharatvash. Not just the India, but the whole earth was known as Bharatvash. So glorious he was. And of the 100 sons, the first one is Bharat Maharaj. After 3 lifetimes, he goes back home, back to Godhead. 9 of his brothers, they became the rulers of the Navadvipa, the 9 islands or 9 continents on this planet Earth. And they, held it in their sovereign, administration. 81 of the sons, of Rishabdev, they became Brahmanas and they engage in ritualistic ceremonies. So they promoted karma kand, ritualistic ceremonies as per the Vedic injunction. So again, that is also important, because some people who want to enjoy in this material world, then Lord Krishna through the Vedas is providing them this facility also. But it's an indirect process, that's also being given. That, just like a father sometimes gives his son a candy so that the son will be ready to take the medication. So by following Vedic injunction, when we engage in various kind of sacrifices, various kind of ritualistic activities, then we are able to do it in a regulated manner, right? So by regulating it, we come to that higher intelligence, higher level, to understand that we should not be seeking fruitive activities, rather we should be serving Lord Shri Krishna. So one comes to the next level higher, but they need gradual progress. So that is like taking a staircase, while taking an elevator is devotional service. So 9 of the brothers, so we already covered Bharat Maharaj, his 9 brothers, so that's 10. 81 brothers were the Brahmanas, so that's 81 plus 10 is 91. 9 remaining ones became Paramhamsas, and these are the ones known as Navyogendras. And when they appeared at the fire sacrifice that was being performed by the sages, exalted sages, and the Brahmanas were present, and Maharaj Nimi was present, then as soon as they came from Akash Marga, as is visible in this picture. And just like Chatur Kumaras didn't wear any clothes, so they were carefree, so they didn't care to wear any clothes. But at the same time, as soon as they appeared, the exalted sages who were, engaged in performing the fire sacrifice, they immediately got up, bowing their hands and raising their hands, Hari Bol, So they were like, wow, this is great fortune that we get to see the Navyogendras. They are glorifying. And even the Brahmanas in the assembly, everybody got up, paying obeisances. Even the sacrificial fire rose, paying obeisances to these sages, the Navyogendras. So these are Paramhamsas. So when they appeared, Maharaj Nimi was very happy. He immediately understood that these are exalted personalities who are close associates of Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So immediately gave them exalted seats, and he worshipped them just as someone would worship Lord Krishna himself. So after having worshipped, he is glorifying that you must be very close associates of Lord Shri Krishna. And so I would like to inquire. And here it is very nicely given that he didn't wait to ask about their welfare, because he is already identifying that it would be futile. They are the devotees of Lord Krishna. They are the pure devotees of Lord Shri Krishna. So they will always be in transcendental bliss, right? So exalted Vaishnavas, they are always in transcendental bliss. So why waste time talking about their welfare? Rather, we should use every moment in inquiring from them for our benefit. So he is asking, and he is saying that not just one moment, but actually even half a moment is exalted, because one can derive great benefit. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi haya. So this is a very important aspect. Sadhu sangha sarva shastra gaya, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi haya. So he is glorifying that the devotees of the Lord are so exalted that even a momentary association can give all kind of benefits to the person who is able to have this association. So it is very beneficial. And now he poses 9 questions. So in the second chapter of 11th Canto, we covered the first 2 questions. The first question he asked was that what is, how can one be fearless? Please tell me about the devotional service. which can instill fearlessness in the heart. And this is exactly what Vasudeva, when he asked this question of Devashi Narad, who is narrating this event where King Nimi gets to see the 9 Yogendras, he had the same question. He was saying that actually I was covered by illusory energy, the Yogamaya, the internal potency of Lord Krishna. So when I performed great austerity in my previous birth, I asked for Lord to become my son. I should have asked for liberation. So Devashi Narad is smiling. And before he could even say that you are actually a pure devotee, Vasudeva says, but you are an exalted personality. When the demigods give someone benediction, then that benediction can lead to happiness or distress. So they are just reciprocating. It's more like a trade exchange. When demigod worshippers, they actually do a trade exchange. There is a trade transaction going on. While the devotees are more merciful, because they only seek benefit of their associates. So one who has taken their shelter, one who is inquiring for general populace. And that one who is fallen, they are shown the right path. And even one who is exalted Vaishnava, they are purified further. So that is a great benefit to be able to have your association. So that's why Devashi Narad, he is saying, before I can say that you are a pure devotee, he actually is saying that even a pure devotee, when he hears from an exalted Vaishnava, is further purified, further advances. So he wants to really hear the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is reminded of his spiritual master, Sri Nārāyaṇa Rishi, who is an incarnation of Lord Krishna. And so he, remembering his spiritual master, he is telling Vasudeva that yes, this event happened. And now, after King Nimi, after he meets the 9 Yogendras, right, they appear when the fire sacrifice was starting. So at that time, after having worshipped them, he inquires, and the first question is similar to what Vasudeva had asked, that please tell me about, the devotional service, Bhagavad Dharma, that can instill fearlessness in one's heart. And King Kavi, he narrates Bhagavad Dharma, the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how it is so beneficial. So that we covered, in that chapter, as how devotional service can enable one to realize one's constitutional position. Jivera Suruphoya Krishnera Nityadas. And thus one, can come out of the clutches of material energy. So there's a reference given of material energy, not enough elaboration, but how one is able to overcome material energy. Then the next question King Nimi asks is that how can one identify who is a Uttama Adhikari, right? Pure devotee, advanced devotee, versus who is a Madhyam Adhikari, a middle class intermediate devotee, and who is a neophyte, a Parakrit devotee, or a beginning level devotee, new devotee. So that has been explained. What are the activities that the pure devotee engages in, and what are the characteristics of a pure devotee? So now Shri Havir, another of the Navyogendras, he describes all these questions. He addresses these questions. Like a pure devotee is one who sees Lord Krishna in everything. So it is not everything has become Lord Krishna, but Lord Krishna has expanded into all these potencies, all these energies of his. And so, even as Super Soul, he has expanded himself. So he is in everyone's heart. And he is a maintainer of everyone. And how everything should be dovetailed in his service. So this is the view of a pure, advanced Vaishnava, an advanced devotee of the Lord. And he is constantly seeking everyone's benefit, and is constantly serving the Lord. So those are his characteristics. How do you differentiate? Now, who is an intermediate devotee? An intermediate devotee, Shri Havir explains, is one who associates with the devotees, on the different levels. So he serves, an intermediate devotee serves the exalted pure devotees of the Lord. So that is the service attitude, Vaishnava Seva. Then he is friendly to other devotees who are at his level, other intermediate level devotees. So that is where devotee association is identified of the 6 loving exchanges. Dadati prati grahinati guhyamakhyati prichati bhunjate bhujate chaiva sadvidim priti lakshanam. So dadati prati grahinati guhyamakhyati prichati bhunjate bhujate. So dadati is giving of gifts, prati grahinati accepting gifts. So devotees, they exchange gifts, and this is a loving exchange. Right? Any relationship we have, it becomes stronger if we exchange with love, not as a trade transaction. We shouldn't say, oh, they gave $20 worth, so we have to give $20 worth in return. That's a trade transaction. We find something that we feel that they would really like or they would really need, so we share something. And one of the things that we learned early on is sharing Srila Prabhupada's books. So we would gift Srila Prabhupada's books to some of the devotees, and we would receive Srila Prabhupada's books from other devotees. And that was such an exalted experience because, first of all, it becomes as a prasad, right? Because Lord's mercy flows through His devotees. So when we get these books, then we get anxious to open them and read them. And that benefits both. Then we can converse with them. Oh, that book that you shared, that you gave me in gift, it has such wonderful verses, such wonderful transcendental purpose, the transcendental ecstasies of Lord Srila Prabhupada. So we get to exchange that. And similarly, when we give them, we inquire from them. Hey, did you get the chance to read Srila Prabhupada's book? What did you find interesting? Is there something that you would like to discuss? So we inquire that way. It becomes very nice, sweet conversation. A very nice way to have, association with the devotees. To just chant about Lord's pure devotees and Lord's glories. His name, form, activities, pastimes. Then, guhyam akhyati prichati, to inquire about secret matters. And so inquire submissively, you can ask questions from exalted Vaishnavas, even with our intermediate level Vaishnavas, we can inquire and also encourage the ones who are new to Krishna consciousness. So, guhyam akhyati prichati, inquiring and then sharing about the subject matters. Prichati is asking questions and inquiring, having conversations about the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. Bhunjate bhujate chaiva. So this is where giving of prasadam and accepting prasadam. So you can say prasadam is foodstuff as well, or mercy of the Lord, which can come in many forms. So by giving food, sharing prasad, the remnants of food offered to Lord Shri Krishna, again a very loving exchange. So these 6 loving exchanges were the basis why Srila Prabhupada established ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so that devotees, they can have these loving exchanges and come closer, and the association of devotees engage in serving the Lord. That way we can all advance very fast, very quickly. And that's why Sankirtan Yajna, congregational chanting, is the Yajna, the sacrifice for this current age, Kali age, which simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And we chant in the wonderful associations of devotees like you, who can join us with this, glorification of Lord Shri Krishna, which appears in Shrimad Bhagavatam. And Shrimad Bhagavatam is also Sankirtan. We are doing it together. So again, Shrimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Lord Krishna. And all that's described in Shrimad Bhagavatam is glories of Lord and glories of Lord's devotees. And when we glorify Lord Krishna, the devotees become happy. And when we glorify Lord's devotees, Lord Krishna becomes happy. So it's a win-win situation for us. And here we are hearing about Lord Krishna. And so after Shri describes, and then he describes the 8 characteristics of a pure devotee. Then comes chapter 3 of 11th canto, liberation from illusory energy. And there was a reference given that one overcomes the material energy. So now King Nimi, he's curious to know about the material energy. So in this chapter, he asks, the first question is basically that he's asking is, what is the nature and activities of the illusory energy, Maya, the material energy, material nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is, material energy is an energy, external energy of Lord Shri Krishna, also known as Maya or Mahamaya. And it is represented in the form of three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, Tattva Guna; mode of passion, Rajaguna; mode of ignorance, Tamoguna. So that is being identified. And here, yes, Hare Krishna, Shri Antariksh, the third of the 9 Yogendras, he is describing, responding, that this conditioned soul, they can cultivate either sense gratification or path for liberation. They can either take two of these. But in reality, he explains that there is only one purpose of this material energy. When the living entities, we have turned our back towards Lord Krishna and we want to be the enjoyer, seeing that he is the enjoyer, but we want to be the enjoyer. So, and in spiritual world, everyone is placing Lord Krishna in the center. So we are the one who create this harmony, so we have to be given a different place. Just like, sometimes, as citizens are living in a country, some of them would decide not to obey the government, and they would engage in activities which are not desirable. So government, in that case, if somebody is committing sinful acts or doing, working against the society, they are put into prison. So this material universes that have been created, which is 25% of all the universes, so 75% is spiritual universes, 25% is material universes. So we have been sent in this material universe, which is like a jail. So we are in this material universe, trying to correct our mistake, to be in, sync with Lord Shri Krishna. So there can only be two reasons. Why is this material energy created? First, Shri Antariksh explains that there are two purposes. First is, one who want to engage in sense gratification, they can engage. And then the second is, one who is seeking the path of liberation, who have immediately recognized their mistake and want to go back home, back to Godhead, then they can engage in those activities. Living entities, based on the desire, get different kind of body, 8.4 million kinds of bodies. So that has been described as well. And how the creation of material universe comes and how the annihilation comes, a lot of technical detail is there. All the 24 elements coming from Prakriti and so forth. And one of the interesting aspects that comes is, he starts that wealth is actually, that is in the next one. So he is identifying as how actually there is only one purpose for living entities to engage in following the Vedic injunction, so that they get to enjoy some sense gratification and at the same time advance in their spiritual path to quickly go back home, back to Godhead, because there is nothing to enjoy in this material world. So that has been explained as well. It is like, we are hugging a tree and calling out, leave me, leave me. So material energy, which is Maya, is actually Jada, earth, water, fire, ether. These are, inactive. The only active ingredient in this material universe is living entities. Because of us, different things happen. And because of Lord Shri Krishna, all these material universes, they are maintained. So we also discussed primary creation, secondary creation. Primary creation, Mahavishnu is responsible for creation, maintenance and annihilation. And secondary creation, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, in individual material universe, they are responsible for creation, maintenance and annihilation. Now he also already explained, Shri Antariksh, that if one wants to come out of this very quickly, then one should take to devotional service. And there is wonderful verse that has been identified, that is, Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpana, sei kale Krishna tare kare atma sama. So it's a beautiful verse. When one takes to devotional service and one takes, it's the shelter of a spiritual master and goes to the initiation, there is a wonderful thing happening where Lord Krishna, what does it expresses? How does he reciprocate? At the time of initiation, when one fully surrenders onto the service of the Lord, Lord Krishna accepts one to be as good as himself. that doesn't mean one has become Lord Krishna. So, cleanliness is next to godliness. So when we clean our character, not just externally, but also we cleanse ourselves internally, purify ourselves, and engage in serving Lord Shri Krishna with our mind, body, and words. So those are the three ways actions are performed. With our mind, with various thoughts and accepting and rejecting things. Body, the various senses that we have that have been received by material energy, we serve Lord Krishna instead of serving the senses through sense gratification. And words, when we glorify Lord Krishna, so one can be silent while glorifying Lord Krishna all the way, all the time. So these are the three ways one can perform action. So one can engage in glorifying Lord Shri Krishna. And we can easily, by accepting a spiritual master, progress in our spiritual journey and go back home. Now the second question King Nibi asks, because he has understood that, Bhagavad Dharma, the pure devotion service is the path. He has also understood the three levels, classes of devotees, and what are the characteristics of a pure devotee, what are the daily activities of a pure devotee. He has understood that. Now he has also understood that, what is the nature and activities of the Lord's illusory energy, Maya, the material nature. His next question comes very interestingly. He's saying that if Maya is bewildering, then what happens if somebody is really in her clutches very heavily? So how can anyone who is in the clutches of Maya, completely bewildered, how can he be free from Maya's insurmountable grip? Because it seems that if somebody makes a mistake, if somebody commits a sin because of the weakness of heart, then it seems that the reaction would come back and one would be in the cycle of committing sins after sins after sins. So there is no chance of them coming out from this grip of Maya. So it's insurmountable. It appears to be invincible. Maya is going to win. So here, very nice description is given. Again, Srila Prabhupada, he also discussed this in our morning walk, that we may take a ticket to the plane, right, for a flight, and we can sit in the plane. Yet at the same time, what we do from our starting place to the destination is up to us. On the plane, we may become friends with our neighbor, person who's sitting next to us, and on the plane we can have nice conversations, we can eat some prasadam, we can chant the holy name, we can read a book, we can, these are like positive interactions, and we can even have negative interactions. We can become upset with someone, we can lash out on them, we can say bad things. So again, it's completely up to us. We have that minute freedom, right? So this minute freedom, very little freedom that we have as living entities, we can use it. That's what the free will is all about. Lord Krishna doesn't want slaves or robots. He wants us to love him naturally by our own will. So that's why he has given us this freedom, but this is minute. So qualitatively we are same with God, but quantitatively we are minuscule and he is magnanimous. We are finite and he is infinite. So that difference is definitely there. So that's where this is the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, where Lord Krishna is simultaneously, we are one and same and different. So simultaneously same and difference is there. And this is actually given in the verse. Jivera saruphoye Krishnera nityadas, Krishnera tathashta shakti, bhed abhed prakash. Bhed abhed. This is, we are the marginal energy of Lord Shri Krishna. The external energy is material nature. The internal energy is Radharani, Yogamaya. And we are the marginal energy, Prakriti, Shakti. And just like on the bank of a river, you see the bank which is sometimes underwater or above water. So when we are underwater, that is like we are under the influence of Maya. And we are above water, that means we are under the shelter of Yogamaya. So we have to take shelter of one of the two. So it's better we take shelter of Radharani, where there is transcendental bliss, unlimited eternal bliss, instead of taking shelter of Mahamaya or Maya, where there is eternal distress, eternal suffering that is there. So we don't want to be in this state where we are suffering. And Shri Prabhupada, he responds to this question, how can a materialist, one who is caught in the unsurmountable grip, can free oneself? And he's saying that wealth is a virtual death for the soul because it takes a lot of time for one to acquire wealth. And we discussed about the 99 Club, if you remember. So what's 99 Club? So once there was this king, he was going and he was very grumpy, very upset all the time, very unhappy kind of person. But as his procession was going, he sees that there is a farmer, he's singing very nicely. So he calls this farmer, he says, why are you so singing? You're a poor farmer. What do you have? And the farmer says, well, I have just enough to sustain my family. I work in the farm and I get enough and I live with my family in a very happy environment. While this king, anytime he would know any other glorious king, he would attack and he would take his kingdom away, drive him out of the kingdom, the king. And he would acquiring, great, his kingdom was expanding, his wealth was expanding, but he was very grumpy. So he asks his advisor after he lets the farmer go, why is he so happy? His advisor says, actually, he's not a member of the 99 Club. So he says, what is that 99 Club? They said, don't worry, your majesty will take care of that. So what happens is when this farmer goes back to where he had kept his lunchbox, he finds that there is a bag, and in that bag there are 99 gold coins. So he says, 99 gold coins, he counts it multiple times. He always comes out to the count is 99. He's saying, nobody would give 99 coins, golden coins in their bag. So there must be a one golden coin somewhere. So he looks around, under the tree, beneath the tree, as well as he looks in the farm, and he's not able to find this 100th golden coin. So he decides that I will get 100 golden coin. I'll earn it, so I'll be possessing 100 gold coins. So he starts working very hard just to acquire, just to earn that 100th golden coin. And when his family was saying, why are you getting so late? Why are you not paying attention? Why are you not returning our calls? He was, lashing out to them. He had become grumpy, just like the king was. And he was saying, don't disturb me. I'm trying to make this. I'm doing it all for you. Everything is for you. So he was, thinking that he is doing the sacrifice for them. They didn't want it. They were happy people. So he, being deluded now, looking to earn, and it takes a lot of energy to acquire wealth. And what happens at the end of the life? You leave the wealth here and you go to your next destination. So what's the use of acquiring too much? So that's the lust aspect, right? I and mine, these are the two factors, aham mameti. And aham, I leads to envy, right? When we think that we are this body and we associate with the body and we forget that we are the spirit soul, the eternal servant of Krishna, in that forgetfulness state, we acquire different kind of designations, and these designations have to do with body. So these designations that we get different names that parents name us, and we get different positions, we get different kind of qualifications, and we identify ourselves as a father, as a son, as a husband, as a brother, and similarly for ladies, they identify themselves as mother, daughter, sister, daughter-in-law, and so many other relations. And various kind of positions at work, I'm a president, I'm a CIO, I'm a CEO, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, all these kind of positions they come in. And people, they, start to think it this way, that I am an Indian, I'm an American, I'm a white, I'm a brown, I'm a black, I'm a yellow. Now all these variations that associate with the body. And this causes envy. So one becomes envious of other person. And it doesn't matter on earthly planets, even on heavenly planets, the same is there. Indra is always in anxiety that someone can perform 100 Ashwamedh Yagyas and take away his position. So this anxiety and fearfulness is there, no matter what. And that's arising because of envy. And now there is lust. Lust is mameti. What do I have? I have acquired so much, I'll acquire more. I have, destroyed all my enemies. I'll be the one who will be possessor of everything. Everyone will worship me. So this name, fame and glories, this aspect comes into the mind. This is lusty desires. So kamesha, krodesha, rajoguna, samudbhava, mahashano, mahapapma, vedyavidham, verinam. So kamesha, krodesha. So from lust arises anger. And this anger is in the mode of ignorance, which causes our fall down. So it is our great enemy. And when seeking sense gratification, the mind is our worst enemy, and when we are able to engage mind in devotional service, it's our best friend. So we should be able to use mind correctly. So that's why body, mind and words, these three ways we perform actions. So mind is a very important element. So here this farmer had become grumpy. So next time when the king meets this farmer, he sees this farmer is very grumpy. He doesn't even respond. He's like, "My dear Majesty, I'm very busy. I have to earn that 100th coin." At that time, the king looks at his advisors. What has happened? They said, "Now your Majesty has become a member of the 99 club." So we should try to avoid ourselves from becoming a member of the 99 club. And here, Shri Prabhupada, responding to how can even a materialist who is in the clutches of Maya seeking sense gratification, he is identifying that one is trying to, reduce unhappiness and have unlimited pleasure, but the result is always the other way around. Because what's happening is, in the desert, if we are thirsty, if we are in a desert, and we are chasing mirages, that is not going to solve the purpose. What we need is water, rain, and oasis. But mirages is like moving targets. They are always appearing far. So that's what material energy does. She shows us that the moving target is just get that target and you will be happy. And we cannot be happy. How can we be happy? When we engage in devotional service, just by calling out to the Lordship. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And here there is, when he reveals that one has to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, that is the secret. Now sometimes people say, "Oh, that is very easy, engaging in devotion service, surrendering to a bona fide spiritual master, taking initiation from him, obeying his orders, and just following the footsteps of previous acharyas. 4 things is all we have to do." But you have to do it. Just knowing is not enough. You have to act on it. That is very important. There's a very nice story that comes. When people come to know that, just by engaging in devotional service, it's so easy. All you have to do is chant and follow the 4 regulative principles. And anybody, especially coming from Eastern culture, it becomes really easy, because Srila Prabhupada used to say, India is like an elephant. Everyone in India is very religious. From childhood itself, the children are brought in a very religious environment, he used to say. And he gave the example, just like an elephant, when it is alive, it is very precious. You can do amazing Herculean tasks using an elephant. Can be very useful. And even when the elephant dies because of its hide and its tusks, the ivory and other things, still is very valuable. And he said that even when the Britishers, they deprived India of all its spiritual wealth, it appeared that people were not spiritually advanced because they were driven to be taught English language, and all the Western culture was being, pushed onto them. The dress was pushed onto them, the thoughts were pushed onto them, the language was pushed on. So that kind of made the Indian Vedic culture, it became dormant at that time. Yet it was still practiced at homes. So after the Britishers left, it seems to be taking up. And with Srila Prabhupada spreading the message of Krishna consciousness all around the world through ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, it is coming back to life. And India is realizing its wealth, the Vedic wisdom that it had for so many centuries. And it's really growing, and everyone is awakening. So this is by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who took on it as a general of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a general of his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada. So he, provided us. So when we understand this devotional service, then people sometimes just say, okay, we will do it sometime later. No, it is very important to do it now. Time is of essence. You don't know what is going to happen. So since we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, we need to start taking to it right now. And it has been very nicely described in this chapter, just like as a hungry person, just with every bite, they are deriving pleasure because they are relishing the food, the prasadam that they are getting. Their body is getting nourishment because in hungry state, body was becoming weak, they were feeling dizzy, but with eating food, eating prasadam, the body is getting nourishment. And the body is getting relieved of that, dizziness or that weakness that they were. So all three things are happening simultaneously. Similarly, when one engages in bhakti yoga, engages in devotional service, the body is experiencing the pleasure of devotion, right? When we engage ourselves in devotional service of Lord Rishikesha, Lord Govinda, who is the master of senses. Rishikesha means master of the senses. Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the senses. All our senses, they derive transcendental pleasure. And we are fully, in our position. So that is like the nourishment for the soul. So a bird in the cage, so just like that, soul is in this body. So the soul is getting nourished when we are engaging ourselves, our senses, our mind and our words in glorifying Lord Krishna, in serving Lord Krishna. So we get nourishment, so we experience transcendental bliss. So this pleasure comes in. And we get direct perception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So this is where we learn, right? When we study, the Shrimad Bhagavatam is not different from Lord Shri Krishna. The deity form in the temples is not different from Lord Shri Krishna. And Lord Krishna is his name, right? Abhinnatvam nam namino. He is not different from his name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So such wonderful, messages being explained by Shri Prabhupada to King Nimi. And he continues to explain that the third thing that's simultaneously happening is detachment from the material things. So what is detachment? It's not that you give away things. Rather, you realize that everything that we get is actually being provided to us by Lord Shri Krishna. Even the body that we have is being provided by Lord Krishna. So we should engage everything in his service. We come to this realization. So we engage everything in his service. And we can avoid in this state lust, anger and greed. And these are the three gates of hell. Lust, this is where mameti, right? Trying to hoard too many things. And because of lust, anger arises. This anger causes further fall down in the mode of ignorance. So we can avoid that. And greed, we can direct the greed. Lalyam is a great qualification if we seek lalyam in devotional service. In serving Lord Krishna, how can I serve Lord Krishna? Constantly meditating on how can I serve, looking for an opportunity to serve Lord Krishna. So this can be diverted. So we can completely avoid the gates of hell and rather open the doors of love of Godhead, which had been actually opened by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. They, opened the door and spread this love of Godhead freely through the chanting of the holy name, through Sankirtan Yajna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So even someone who is, caught in this material world, right, under the grips of material energy, Maya, can easily free oneself. And there are two types of faith that has been discussed. So the first faith is that knowing that all Vedic literatures have been provided to us by Lord Shri Krishna. So we should not blaspheme any of the Vedic literatures. However, there is a distinction, right? And so we should also, the second faith refers to identifying the specific injunction that we should take as the goal of our life. So that is also very important. So that's the second thing. We can accept everything. Kala Vidya is also there, which tells about different ways, different types of arts and crafts ability. And it has also been provided by Lord Krishna. Yet at the same time, we use it to serve Lord Krishna. So everything needs to be used to serve Lord Krishna. Yet our goal is to engage in devotional service and use whatever abilities and whatever resources we have in serving Lord Krishna very nicely. So that's how it should be done. Sometimes people talk about, mauna. So from, a Jnana Yogi perspective or a Karma Yogi perspective, the mauna is like you sit silently, don't talk about it, meditate on, unlimited. And yet at the same time, how do you meditate on Brahman or how do you meditate on the Super Soul when you can't see him? It is said by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita Klesho adhiktarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhir vyapyate. For one who is embodied, one who has this gross body, it is very difficult for one to see the super soul in the heart, because the super soul in the heart is unmanifested at this moment, right? We cannot see him with our gross senses, with our eyes, with our hands, with our legs, with our sense of touch, with our eyesight, with hearing, nose. We cannot perceive him because the senses are defective. So we talked about the 4 defects in this material world that arise. Human is our propensity to cheat, propensity to be deluded, and imperfect senses. So our senses are imperfect. So Lord Krishna says that you cannot. So when Arjuna wanted to see the four-arm form and the universal form of Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Krishna said, you cannot see me with your current eyes. I'll give you divine eyes. So Lord Krishna has to give us the ability. So Srila Prabhupada, sometimes when he was giving lectures, so a couple of times it happened, somebody would challenge. So one person was challenging, saying that, can you see Lord Krishna? So Srila Prabhupada, he was interrupting too many times. So Srila Prabhupada said, you are actually coming in the way. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada was not able to see the deities. He was standing right in the middle. So that was a hilarious way. Everybody, laughed and said, Hari Bol. And then the person realized that he is coming between Srila Prabhupada and the deities. On another occasion, Srila Prabhupada, when he said, can you show me Lord Shri Krishna? A person said in the crowd, Srila Prabhupada said, do you have the eyes to see Lord Krishna? So you need divine eyes. And that is Lord Krishna, by His mercy we can see Him. It is not that we can demand, can you show me where Lord Krishna is? That is not the attitude. Once at a university lecture, a student asked, when Srila Prabhupada was speaking, he said that, why do you have this tilak on your forehead, this, 2 lines going with this tilak, Vaishnava tilak? Srila Prabhupada asked him, why do you wear a tie? He looked at his tie, couldn't answer, sat down. Srila Prabhupada afterwards told him that you should not challenge. Rather, you should inquire submissively for your benefit. So when you meet a sage, when you meet a saintly person, you should inquire submissively to, understand the knowledge, understand the philosophy, and that is of essence. So this is where we learn how we should, be very much, looking in serving Lord Shri Krishna, dovetailing all our activities in serving Lord Shri Krishna, and so we can become free. So the silence is being discussed. Austerity, we observe Ekadashi Vrat, fasting from grains and beans. So that also enables. And Shri Prabhupada also continues to elaborate that engaging in devotional service also means having devotee association, and how one should respect and serve the exalted Vaishnavas. One should be friend with the other Vaishnavas who are at the same level, and one should be very compassionate towards the newcomers in Krishna consciousness, the neophytes or the parakrat devotees. So that is very important. And there are 2 kinds of bhaktas. One is sadhana bhakta and other one is raganuga bhakta. Well, now that I have talked about in nectar devotion, there is a 3rd kind of bhakta also, ragatmika bhaktas. Now ragatmika's bhaktas are already eternal, they are nitya siddhas, and those positions have already been taken. Like Radharani, she is the eternal consort of Lord Shri Krishna, Mother Yashoda, and so many of the associates, the elderly gopis and the cowherd men and the gopa boys, they are eternal associates of Lord Krishna. So they are ragatmika. So from the very Atmika, from the very self, they are in love with Lord Shri Krishna. Now Raganugas are the ones who are in the spiritual world serving, following the footsteps of Ragatmika. So they are the associates of Ragatmika. So they are also in the spiritual world, while we are sadhana bhaktas. So we are engaged in regulative principles. We are following the regulative principles, the 4 prohibitions, right, where we are saying no meat eating, including no fish, eggs, or any of the non-veg item. no intoxication, like not even tea or coffee or any of the sodas and all. Then no illicit sex. And then the fourth one is no gambling, because gambling is like, cheating ourselves, telling lie to ourselves. So all these are very important aspects, and they are related to the four legs of religion, right? Austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So these aspects are there, so they have been discussed as well. And developing friendship with other devotees is also very important. So after, Shri Prabhupada explains this, this is where we come to the second part of this chapter. I just wanted to establish the previous aspects so that we can come to this. So another question that King Nimi is asking. So King Nimi has asked with respect to Bhagavad Dharma, he has asked about the characteristics and the classes of the three classes of devotees. He has also asked about the nature and activities of the material energy of Lord Shri Krishna, Maya. And he has also asked who can easily come out of the grip, this insurmountable grip of Maya. How can one come out? By taking to devotional service and accepting a spiritual master, taking initiation from a spiritual master, following the orders of a spiritual master, and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, and having devotee association, having this loving exchange with the devotees, and constantly serving the Lord. Now when we talk about this, he comes to this, King Nimi asks the following question. He's asking about the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Shri Pipalayana, he describes that. Before that, it's very important, like we were talking about. When people come to know of devotion service, that it is very easy, then they say, we'll do it tomorrow. Well, you have come to know of it. That's why it is becoming, but you don't control time. And Lord Krishna says, time I am destroyer of all things. So he also expands as time in the material world. He doesn't expand as time in the spiritual world because there is no concept of time. It is only in the material world the concept of time is there with respect to past, present and future. And so when Lord Krishna says, sometimes people even get bewildered there. He is saying, time I am, so he expands as time to, enable this creation and annihilation and the whole cycle of material universes. And they say, it is time that is speaking, it is Kal that is speaking, not Krishna. So people, they come up with their own speculative theories, and that's why they are more bewildered in this material world. Here, there is a beautiful story that's coming, like, when a great secret has been revealed. And this great secret is, Rajavidya Rajguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshvavagmam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. So this devotional service, the unalloyed devotional service, the pure devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna is Rajvidya. It is the secret of all the secrets, the king of the secrets. Rajguhyam, it is, Rajvidya is the king of all knowledge. Rajguhyam is the king of all secrets, the greatest secret. Pavitram, it is all purifying. And it is Uttamam, it is the topmost. Pratyakshvavagmam Dharmyam. So one can directly perceive it, we can directly realize it when we practice in this, devotional service, when we engage in devotional service. Dharmam susukham kartum avyayam. And one can perform it with, great, in a tranquil state, with pleasure. It's very pleasure giving, as in a pleasure, seeking mood, it can be performed. So it is performed very nicely in a happy mood. So this is like a pot of wit that has been revealed. So there is a very nice story. Once Akbar, he got upset with Birbal. There were many times Birbal would do some things that would upset Akbar. One of those instances, not this particular instance that caused it, but one of the instances, Birbal had this bad habit of chewing tobacco. He would chew tobacco, he put it under his lips and he would enjoy that. So Akbar, when he was with Birbal, he says, Birbal, why do you chew this tobacco? It's very bad. Your mouth smells bad, everything. It's not good for health. And actually it is injurious to health. And it is very interesting that now people are realizing not just physical, material perspective, it's injurious to our spiritual advancement. When Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was sharing with Srila Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada, when people would tell me to give up smoking, I didn't give it up. But when you said that it is bad for your spiritual life, then I was able to give it up. Only you told me that smoking tobacco, cigarette, is bad for our spiritual life, spiritual advancement. It is bad for the soul. So then I was able to give up. Nobody else told me that before. So tobacco is very bad, right? But it's also very bad from material perspective, not just spiritual. It's also materially very bad. It causes cancer and so many bad sicknesses and ailments. So here Akbar says, Birbal, why do you eat tobacco? So as they were, roaming in the garden, suddenly Akbar sees that there is a donkey, an ass, who's smelling the tobacco leaves, and he's like not tasting them, he's staying away. So he tells Birbal, see, even a donkey, even an ass doesn't eat tobacco. Then Birbal's response was, my dear Majesty, Lord Akbar, only a donkey doesn't eat tobacco. Now it was very insulting. So sometimes Birbal would say, as part of his ridiculing behavior, his joking manner, he would say some things like this. So Akbar would become upset. So in one such incident, when Akbar got upset, he said, Birbal, get out of my kingdom. And Birbal, he went out of his kingdom, he left his kingdom. He went to a distant village and he started working in a farmer's farm. And he was just working like, incognito, not telling anyone that he's Birbal. In his simple clothes, he was just working. Now after some time, Akbar started having issues. He could not run his administration as effectively because earlier there was an issue. He would ask Birbal and Birbal would give them a solution. He's like wondering, how do I get Birbal back? He, sends out messengers. They come back empty-handed, no news about Birbal. He's like, I have to find a way to get Birbal back. So he comes up with an idea. He tells all the villages and all the towns that they have to provide in the tax, as part of the tax, a pot full of wit, right? Full of wisdom. And if they cannot provide it, they have to fill a pot with, jewels and gold and provide it as part of the tax. Now this is very troublesome for all the villages. So when Birbal hears in his village that everybody is worried how to provide a pot full of wit, pot full of wisdom, then how is it going to be there? There are two different aspects. Let's just stay wit. So here Birbal, he tells them, don't worry, I will provide you in a month. In 30 days I will provide you. What he does is he goes to the farm and he picks up a small watermelon, puts it in a big pot, right, in a matka, puts it. And now the watermelon is still attached to the plant. So he is sending the, putting water and all the nutrients for the plant. So this watermelon is growing. It grows to the size of the pot in 30 days. And that's when he cuts it off and he gives it to the messenger. He says, give it to the king, give it to Akbar. So while Akbar was receiving all the pots filled with wealth and jewels from all of the villages, this village sends this, saying that this is pot of wit. And he immediately understands that Birbal is there. So he goes and to that village and he's able to identify like who did this, and they tell him this person, and he says, Birbal, please come back. So Birbal comes back. Now sometimes people, they stop the story here. Akbar, just to think, like, now that everybody knows how to do this, will they be able to do it? So he sends the message again second time. Now Birbal has already given them the solution. And this time, even the village where he had given them the solution, they sent a pot filled with gold and jewels because they could not understand how Birbal did it. So what needs to be done is given in Bhagavad Gita, right? But how it is done is given in Shrimad Bhagavatam. So that's the secret. All the secrets have been revealed. How the devotees, and sometimes even ones who were caught in the clutches of Maya, how were they able to overcome the grip and release themselves from the grip of Maya? We have many examples. Like Ajamil, he was able to go back home, back to Godhead, while at one time he was known to be the most sinful man on this planet Earth. So you can imagine what a wonderful revelations are there in this Shrimad Bhagavatam. So we should be intelligent. And if you are smart, you would know the smart mantra. Smartavyo yatatam Vishnu Vismartavyo na jatu chit Sarve vidhi nishedasyoretyoreva kinkaraha. Always remember Krishna. Smartavyo satatam Vishnu. Vismartavyo na jatuchit. Never forget Krishna. Sarve vidhi nishedasyo. All the rules, regulations, prohibition, inhibitions, all are subservient to these two principles. So we should understand. Now when the third question in this chapter is being asked by King Nimi, that please describe to me the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pipulayan, he starts describing. And there's a reference given of the three ways the Absolute Truth is identified by the Transcendentalist. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdyate. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam. The Transcendentalists recognize the Absolute Truth in three forms. Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdyate. What are the three forms? Brahman, the effulgence coming from the toes of Lord Shri Krishna, and it is eternal, Sat, Chit, Anand. So it has the Sat features, it is eternal in nature. Paramatma has Sat and Chit features. It is eternal and full of knowledge. And then Bhagwan, Lord Shri Krishna in his Shyam Sundar two-arm formed himself. He has all three aspects, Sat, Chit, Anand. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam. So Lord Brahma is praying to Lord Shri Krishna that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. You are full of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So those three features are only present in Lord Shri Krishna in his personal form. And King Nimi wants to establish that. So Shri Pipulayan, he is describing that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his personal two-arm form, and from his body he expands as super soul in this material world. So he doesn't have to expand the spiritual world because he's present there in his original form. In Vaikuntha, in Goloka, in Dwarka, in Mathura, he is present, and so many other spiritual planets. He is present in his spiritual form, and all the devotees are in their spiritual form, serving Lord Krishna, serving the Supreme Lord as Vishnu Tattvas. He is expanding. So Vishnu Tattvas, they are not different from each other. Even the Lord Krishna never takes a step outside Vrindavan. Yet he expands. So his direct expansion, also known as Swamshar Vishnu Tattvas, various Vishnu incarnations. And then his Vibhinamshas are Jiva Tattvas, we living entities. We are minuscule, and we are finite, while he is unlimited. And all Vishnu Tattvas are unlimited, and they are non-different from Lord Krishna. Yet they are differentiated based on their pastimes. So here he is explaining us how Lord, he is present in his three forms. And then he is talking about the secondary expression of Lord Shri Krishna in the form of three Purusha avatars. Mahavishnu, also known as Karanodakshai Vishnu, who is in the Karan ocean, resting on Ananta Shesh. And then next one is Garbhodakshai Vishnu. He is on Garbhodak ocean in the universe. So Karanodakshai or Mahavishnu, from his pose of his body and from his breathing, all these universes are coming. Then he expands as Garbhodaksha Vishnu in each of the universe. In each of the universe, he is appearing, and he is in Garbhodak ocean in each of the universe. And from his navel sprouts the lotus flower where Lord Brahma is born. And from Lord Brahma, when he gets angry in the mode of, as a control of mode of ignorance, Rudra, the purplish boy, he is born. So this is a very nice description given in the Shastras as how they are responsible for secondary creation, maintenance and annihilation. And further, Lord expands as impetus as super soul. And that is Shirodakshai Vishnu in Shir Sagar. Shir Sagar is the ocean of milk. He is also resting on Ananta Shesh. And this is where in the beginning of 10th canto, the first chapter, Prithvi, when she had gone to Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma along with the demigods had gone to Shir Sagar, the ocean of milk, and he had prayed to Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who said that, yes, I will appear. So when Lord Krishna descends in this material world, then he comes with all his other incarnations in him, because they are non-different, and then he performs all his pastimes with his associates and so forth. So just like in early days, early morning, a mother, she wakes up her child so that the child can attend school. Similarly, when we take shelter of a spiritual master, our spiritual master wakes us up so that we can engage in our true service. We can engage ourselves in serving Lord Shri Krishna, in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna. And we talked about that as soon as there is any kind of anarthas that is there, then it has to be nubbed in the bud, right? Where this sage, he has this young boy, this young boy is acquiring bad qualities, and how to help him understand that these bad qualities should be removed now without wasting another moment. He asked the young boy to take out a small sapling, a small plant, and the boy just picks it up with his, index finger and thumb. He's able to take out, of course, placed back. Then he says, okay, why don't you try to uproot a bigger plant? So it takes him some energy, but he's able to take it out. Of course, it's placed back in the soil, replanted. Then he says to the boy, try to uproot a bush. He points to a bush. And the boy has to put a lot of energy, but finally he's able to uproot the bush. And then, of course, it's replanted. Then he says to the boy, try to uproot a grown-up tree. And the boy tries very hard. He's not able to uproot. He says, what's the difference? The difference is that the tree has deeper roots. It's over time that these plants have established these roots. So if we allow the anarthas in the soil of our heart, so our heart is like a garden, if we allow the anarthas to stay there and stay unnoticed at times, we ignore them, we don't take, uproot them timely, then they will develop these strong roots, so that they will take away all the nourishment that is meant for our bhakti lata bij, the seed of devotion in our heart. And this will cause us to fall down. So this actually teaches us how we have to be very careful of taking, removing the anartha and nubbing them right in the bud, in the early stage itself. And prevention is better than cure, right? Why try to cure something? We can directly try to prevent it. Even a negative thought that comes, we should try to ignore it and always seek devotee association. That's why devotee association is paramount. And sometimes in this chapter, when it is being said by people that one should give up his family, so it is not that give up the family by walk away from the family. What he is actually saying is, again, many times in Shrimad Bhagavatam, this and this stated, what is said is that we should understand that our family members are also living entities just like us. It's not that I am a living entity, Jivera Surupaya Krishna and Nitya, I am an eternal servant of Krishna. No, they are also eternal servant of Lord Krishna, and they are also little bewildered just like us. So we have to work together in this spiritual journey. We are in this together. So we have to help each other out. And together we can overcome this material energy by engaging in devotional service. And in India there is a saying, 1 + 1 is 11. Ek aur ek 11 hote hain. So this is the moment where 1 + 1 is 11 and 1 + 1 + 1 is 111. And you add another one, it just becomes 1. And Srila Prabhupada said we have various abilities, and all these abilities are like zeros, right? He used to give another example. And if we are not devotee of Krishna, then addition of all these zeros is zeros. Yet at the same time, if we are devotee of Krishna, if we are using our abilities in serving Lord Krishna, then we put a 1 ahead of them. And then it has value. So that is very important. So here, just like a spark cannot affect the original fire it came from, similarly, how can a living entity perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Shri Pipalayan, he is describing it. So with materialistic aspects, we cannot access spiritual. Yet at the same time, there is a blessing that when we engage our material senses, that is like taking out a thorn with a thorn, right? We are inflicted in this material world with this conditioned body. But if we engage in devotional service, by using this material body, we are able to get to our spiritual abode or spiritual state of mind. So we can attain our spiritual consciousness. So that is a great blessing that we have. And there is a very nice example given that once there were two lions, they wanted to cross the river and there was a big log, across the river. So they were both crossing. So in this particular case, they were stubborn, being lions. They were saying, you go, I'll go first. The other one was saying, no, I'll go first. So they fought with each other, and what happened was they fell in the river, and the river had a strong current. They were driven away and they died. On another occasion, their children, they had seen their parents, the fathers dying. So, but at the same time, both were lamenting, but they were of higher consciousness. So when they wanted to cross, they decided to take turns when crossing the river. And so these were wise lions. By learning from others, they understood that we can be friendly and we can be cooperative. So that should be the mood. People should not be driven by emotions. That happened to us because in the past, so we have to be like this. Rather, we should see why it happened and what could have been different for us to remove this animosity, this feeling of revenge. How can we live in a harmony? So that is an important message that we hear in this particular chapter. And how sometimes people are so much inclined to recognize position, while a devotee is carefree of this position, like this Navyogendras. What we hear is that this Navyogendras, their body was, they didn't even wear any clothes. They were just wandering, and they could wander and they could visit any planet unrestricted. Nobody could stop them. So that is there. So we should not look at the position, but rather they were glowing with effulgence, just like the Chaturkumars, the 4 sons of Lord Brahma. They were glowing like sun. So they were rivaling the brilliance of sun. And now King Nemi, realizing that the transcendental position of Supreme Personality of Godhead is so amazing, that by engaging in devotional service, when people are in, he picks it up from where his brother Prabhupada, he lives, starting with the material energy and how Lord Krishna is even the Lord of material energy, and how he is so benevolently disposed towards his devotees that he enables them to come back home, back to Godhead. And Lord is always free of the 4 kind of changes, which is birth, growth, decay and death. He always maintains and he expands. So those are the 2 characteristics. While we living entities, in this material world with the conditioned body, we take birth, this body grows. So this is with respect to material versus spiritual. A material body, when has a living entity in it, so it's conscious, it takes birth, it grows, it maintains for some time, it produces progeny, which is like an expansion, then it dwindles and then it dies. So of this, birth, growth, decay and death, these are not present in spiritual aspects. They are eternal, and Lord expands. Even living entity can expand into 9 forms on its own capacity, but with the Lord Krishna's capacity, unlimited again. So that is there in the case of the 16,000 princesses when they were married with Lord Shri Krishna. He enabled everyone to be simultaneously present in all of those marriages. That is given. Now, after Shri Pipalayan describes this, and King Nemi is relishing all this, he inquires the 4th question in this chapter. The question is that please describe to me the process of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, by following which one can become free from all these material activities. So now the 4th brother, actually the 6th brother, Shri Avirhotra, he describes the characteristics of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, he describes that there are 3 kinds of activities. Prescribed duties, as per the Vedic injunctions, pious activities. Then there is inactivity. Now this inactivity is further in 2 categories, which is, we call it akarma. So karma is pious activity. Akarma is engaging in devotional service. But no activity is also referring to another where one, even though they could perform an activity, they don't perform any activity. in the right mindset. And then the third kind is sinful activity. Sinful act, which is, against the injunctions of the Vedas, against the injunctions of the scriptures, and that causes sinful reaction. So we have discussed about it, that pious activities lead to fruitive reactions that one can derive happiness from, and that is the mood one engages in pious activity. Being good is always good, yet at the same time, if one is not a devotee of Lord Krishna, Srila Prabhupada said that he has no good qualities, because they are bewildered and speculative mindset. Yet it is better because it's pious and it will enable them to progress, yet very slowly. While engaging in devotional service, a karma enables us to progress very fast in our spiritual journey. So we are all on a journey, right? We take birth in a year, on a specific day, we die on a specific day. But what's important is the dash that happens between them. Dash represents the whole journey. Sometimes people are saying, oh yes, my son was born, he became, he passed his high school in this year, he became a doctor in that year, then he became a head of department in that particular year, then he became a father in this year, he had so many. They're only talking about those dates in the material aspect. What is more important is, what did we do during this time? How much devotional service we are engaged in? Were we conscious of our time so that we could engage in devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna? That is very important. And when a devotee engages in devotional service, he is experiencing transcendental peace. Sukham kartum abhyayam. One can eternally engage in devotional service of the Lord and do it very nicely, very pleasure-giving as well as pleasure-seeking mode. Automatically one derives pleasure. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this secret has been revealed. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta. Krishna Bhakta, a devotee, does not have any desire for sense gratification. Rather, all the desire is to please Lord Shri Krishna. That's why he is constantly peaceful. And you have to be peaceful before you become happy. While Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Ateva Ashanta, they are constantly disturbed. Bhukti is one who wants to do bhoga, who wants to enjoy this material world. And then Mukti is one. So again, they are still, Bhukti is again from Vedic injunctions perspective, pious activities. Mukti is one who wants to attain liberation, go back home, back to Godhead, thinking that is the goal. Actually, the goal is to rekindle the spark of love in our heart for Lordship. So the love of Godhead is the real goal. The secondary goal that happens because of that is that we are able to go back home, back to Godhead. But liberation are of 5 different kinds. And then Siddhi, one can acquire various Siddhis, various powers, right? Become heavier than the heaviest, lighter than the lightest, and so forth. The Ashta Siddhis, 8 kind of Siddhis. And then Kami is one who wants to enjoy and lord over this material world. They are Sakali Ashanta. They are automatically, very disturbed. And then Shri Avirhotra describes that one has to develop right kind of consciousness to be able to engage in devotional service and quickly cross over this material world. So that is also essential. So when we are engaged in devotional service, automatically we are the topmost, yogis. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. So the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, they are referring to Karma Yoga. The center 6 chapters are on Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. And then you have the last 6 chapters on Jnana Yoga. The last verse of Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna is revealing, Yogi nam api sarvesham madgate antaratmana. One who is constantly devoting his life in serving me. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. With faith, with devotion, with awe and reverence. One who is serving me, one who is serving with love, one who is serving me with gratitude, one who is serving me with affection. He is the topmost devotee. Samay yukta tamamata. He's in proper sense, he is a devotee, he is a yogi. So one can by engaging in devotional service can be a perfect karma yogi, perfect jnana yogi, as well as perfect bhakti yogi. Actually, bhakti yoga is not dependent on karma yoga, jnana yoga, or ashtanga yoga. While those are dependent on bhakti yoga, so they have to come to the level of bhakti yoga. Now, the characteristics one has to develop. Shri Avirhotra, the sixth of the Nav-yogendras, the 9 yogendras, he's describing Shamud. So he's describing the qualities, and actually they have been revealed by Lord Krishna in the qualities as how a Brahman behaves. What is the characteristics of a Brahman? So they are actually covering all the aspects that Shri Avirhotra describes. Shamodamastapa shocham shanti rajomevacha jnanam vijnanam astim kyam brahma karma swabhavajam. Shama is peacefulness. Dama is self-control. Tapa is austerity, and sometimes also refers to penances. Shocham is purity. Shanti is tolerance. And then Arjam is honesty. And then Jnanam is knowledge, and Vijnanam is realization, when we are practicing it, what we have acquired as knowledge. And Astikyam is religiousness. So these are the duties of a Brahmana. So when we develop these characteristics and we practice them in serving Lord Shri Krishna, then we can eternally engage in devotional service and very nicely have the association of devotees and spiritually advance. So this is where the chapter ends, where we understand the characteristics, and by taking to the shelter of Lord Shri Krishna in devotional service, we can easily cross over this material energy, the Bhav Sagar. Hare Krishna. And then we will pick up the 3 questions in next 2 chapters that King Nemi is asking. So 6 of the 9 Nav-yogendras have responded till the end of this chapter. Please join us for Nasimha Devati. प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.